The darkness mild fresh.
I've seen 3 dead girls in the last week.
Is there anything you're going to miss about Wallander, and what was the highlights of playing him?
The highlights were probably to be in Sweden in a beautiful landscape, these flatlands with the big sky of Skåne in southern Sweden. And I miss playing Wallander's tenderness. He had great sensitivity as a man, I think, and this was partly what made him such a good detective, but also what made his life so sort of bruised.
I found it very hard to talk about it.
Because a vision softly
Scrape away the surface.
Why do you think that there's so many good crime writers like Henning Mankell in Scandinavia?
Well, I think that he knows that from the outside world, Sweden, for instance, as an example of kind of a late 60s utopia where they took healthcare and massively subsidized it by higher taxation, etc., where there was a sort of more liberal approach to education, etc., was an example of a certain kind of liberal democracy at its best. And yet he knew that underneath it were social problems that were as challenging as they were everywhere else. Maybe not as sharp, but they had similar characteristics. And so Sweden, as it were, the truth behind the dream was a good subject for him, good subject for Scandinavian noir writers, because the landscape was dramatic, the weather was severe, contrasting, challenging, surprising. So the landscape in which this contrast between what appears to be on the surface and what lurks beneath is very active and vital and exciting in Scandinavia. So really an interesting canvas to work with.
seeds while I was sleeping.
But actually, you get down to the bone,
And the vision.
the bit that's always going to be there.
I think it's a phenomenally hard job, and in my research and talking to policemen there in Sweden and in Ystad particularly, you could see that there were tremendously difficult things to do, whether it's discovering violent crimes, dead bodies, the distress caused in families when people go missing, when they're lost, but there's also a tremendous amount of administration, there's just legwork. These things, I think, are very, very taxing on the nervous system of any individual, and the policemen are not full of supermen. They are full of very sensitive women and men, but it's really a job that requires the ability to shoulder all that and then to do what Kurt Wallander cannot do, which is somehow leave it to a large extent at the office in order to be able to function in the rest of your life. He has to learn in a way that I would have to learn also to let go more, which is not to make yourself uncaring, but just to function and survive. So I think I probably wouldn't be a good cop.